our guest tonight is TNA star Ken Anderson. How you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good. Very good, actually.
That's
Just
fantastic.
got to the gym. I'm feeling swole.
Okay, awesome. I wish I knew what that felt like.
On.
I haven't felt my abs or my biceps in years. I haven't seen my feet in years. I wish I could do that stuff.
Well, it's good to have goals.
Okay. Awesome. Listen, okay, this is starting off fluidly, just as I expected. You make your triumphant return to the ring on Friday night's episode of Impact Wrestling. What has the transition from Spike TV to Destination America been like for you personally, and what is the backstage feeling after early success on the new channel?
Nothing but positivity, really. At first it was a little, we went from a network that was pretty large to a smaller network that doesn't have quite the reach that Spike did. And so you're always sort of tentative and you don't know what the future holds. But I think that you look at cases across the board of these small startup networks. When they get programming that people enjoy and people like, they call their cable providers and they ask for this particular package or this particular channel to be added to their package. And a lot of times that happens. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great fit for us. And I got a chance to go out to LA a few weeks ago and spend some time with the folks from Destination America, and they're just phenomenal people. And they're really excited about having us on their network.
Mike Chiari?
TNA has always been really well received in the UK, and that's really been evident during the recent episodes of Impact. And since your return to television, you've formed an alliance with a pair of Brits, Rockstar Spud and Mandrews. In your opinion, what do you think it is about TNA that makes it so hugely popular in Europe and also kind of attracts so many international stars to the roster also?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious thing is that we have a broader reach over there. WWE happens to be on pay TV over there, and we're on free TV, so we hit more homes. And I don't know. When we go over there, the crowd is always. It's my favorite place to wrestle right now is in the UK, just because the crowds are always so much fun. They're so into every match, and when we're over there, the last few years we've put on shows that were 3.5 hours long, and sometimes that can get to be sort of tiresome for the crowd. They sort of peter out towards the end, and that's not the case over in the UK. They stick with us, and it's a lot of fun. And also, I think as far as drawing in more UK fans, the fact that we've been doing the British boot camp for the last 2 years, and that Rockstar Spud is just, I think he's on fire, and I think the sky's the limit for that guy. And he gets it. He loves wrestling. He's so passionate about the business. He's entertaining and always coming up with new ideas and new things. So, yeah, all those things.
Brandon Galvin?
Ken, you've always been one of the most entertaining, outspoken, and unapologetic wrestlers on the mic. How do you know when to draw the line, and have you ever thought about doing commentary or even starting your own podcast?
Yes, I have, and I actually I have my own podcast. It just so happens that I started a podcast about 8 months ago, and you can catch it on the dvnpe.com, iTunes, Stitcher. It's called Push the Button. And I guess the interesting thing about it is that it's not about wrestling. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's about the things that interest me outside of the wrestling world, politics, religion, the things that that happen to be supposedly the most important things in people's lives. But we're somehow, for some reason, not supposed to talk about these things. And I always wanted to sort of have an open discussion and be able to talk about them and not get mad and not get upset and walk away at the end of the day as friends. So my co-host happens to be a Christian. I am not. And so, yeah, we delve into all sorts of different topics.
All right, as a two-time world heavyweight champion in TNA, you're one of the most decorated wrestlers on the roster. Unfortunately, you haven't held the world title since 2011. As one of the top stars, do you feel this is your year to return to the heavyweight championship scene? And where does winning another world title fall on your list of priorities?
Yeah, I mean, that's always something that's in the back of every wrestler's head, I think. I don't think that you should get into this business if that is not your ultimate goal. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, everybody has different goals, but that's always been my goal. And I think I went through some transitions over the last few years, and just in this last year, I've really sort of focused my energy back towards the business. And sort of, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years now almost. And I think it's inevitable that sometimes you sort of go through those waning periods. And I've fallen in love with the business all over again. And I definitely, that is definitely on my list of goals to achieve for this year.
Mike Chiari?
One of the biggest angles you've taken part in during your time in TNA was your involvement in Aces and Eights. It's an angle that dominated TNA programming for the better part of the year. It definitely caught a lot of people's attention. But for you, how do you view it looking back? Do you believe it played out exactly as it should have in terms of length and the payoff? Is there anything you wish you could go back and change about it?
Yeah, creatively, we all, you're dealing with a group of 10 guys who all have different ideas, and at some point, and then those were just the 10 wrestlers-ish that were involved in the angle, and then you've got the people that are sort of writing the stuff behind the scenes, and everybody has different ideas, and I guess at the end of the day, you all have to agree on certain things, and so there's always I think in every situation that I've ever been in the wrestling business, every match that I've been involved in, I've never looked back and said, that match was awesome. Boy, I just loved that match that I was involved in. Usually it's the opposite. I ignore all the positive things that happen in the match, and I just focus on the little things that irritate me that maybe, somebody else might not even notice. So I guess, yeah, there's certain things that I wish I could change. I wish we could have played it out a little bit longer. But I also felt that at some point the Aces and Eights segments were eating up so much television time that it almost, that was my only regret, I guess. My only criticism was we'd come out there 4 times a night, and sometimes it would lose its luster after after you've heard the music 3 times already. When you hear it the 4th time, it doesn't mean anything to you, or it means less.
BG?
Ken, you've been involved in some highly entertaining and elaborate storylines throughout your career. Has there ever been an idea that maybe you wanted to go through with but weren't able to execute?
There was actually a program that I had pitched in WWE, or just sort of a character idea. It was a heel idea, and it had to do with laying guys out backstage where the camera would never see who it was. I would play the babyface on TV, but all these people would continue to be laid out backstage, and there would always be back in Vietnam, they used to throw ace of spades cards on the dead bodies, on the killed. And, this was actually an idea that was sort of given to me by Steve Austin at one point. And that would be my calling card, and that at some point come out and sort of reveal myself by pulling that card out of my, come out to make the big save and then turn on whoever I was supposed to be saving and throw an ace of spades card on them. That kind of stuff. And I pitched it in WWE. It was turned down. I pitched it in TNA, and they liked it. It never came to fruition. So, yeah, I mean, there's been all kinds of things. But I know I'm getting a little long-winded here, but I try to, as much as I can, I try to stay out of that aspect of the business. I don't involve myself in storylines and angles. I try to take what's given to me and make the most out of it.
All right, over your long career in wrestling, you have fought legends like Shawn Michaels, Sting, Kurt Angles, and many, many others. Looking back, who did you enjoy working against the most, and who in the industry now would you most like to step in the ring against?
Oh boy. Who did I enjoy the most? I enjoyed working with Taker immensely. Like, he was just amazing to work with, so helpful. He sort of took me and MVP under his wing, and I always felt like in the WWE there were two mountaintops. There was the SmackDown mountain, and you had Undertaker and Batista and Kane and Booker T and Rey Mysterio and all these guys at the top of the mountain, and they were throwing rope ladders down and, lending helping hands, trying to, come on up here. The weather is fine. We can all breathe up here. We can all make money together. And then on the other mountain, you had people who shall remain nameless, who were pushing boulders and pouring hot pots of oil over the side of the mountain to try to get you off. And so, yeah, I remember Taker just being enormously helpful to me in my career, and really gave me some fantastic advice. And some of it I took, some of it I didn't. But, yeah. And who would I like to most work with in the business today? There's all kinds of people, within TNA. I still have yet to get my hands on Gunner, and I think Gunner is the total package. I think he's got a tremendous look. His work is amazing. Like, what he does in the ring looks believable. It's solid. He's great on the mic. He's passionate about the business. So I'd like to get my hands on him. I'm getting ready to do something with EC3, which I'm really looking forward to. He's been one of my favorite people to watch for the last few years. And MVP and I have never had a chance to actually wrestle each other. We tagged when we were over in the WWE, and we've been friends for several years, but we've never had a chance to do anything in the ring against each other.
Mike York?
One of the biggest pieces of news in wrestling right now is obviously Samoa Joe's announcement that he's leaving TNA after so many great years with the company. As a veteran guy who has some tenure in TNA, what type of impact does Joe's departure have on you personally, and also on the locker room as a whole?
Joe is a locker room leader. No question about it. And not a locker room leader that raises his hand and says, I want to be the leader. I want to be your leader. I want you to look up to me. People just naturally gravitate towards him, and his respect is all earned, not just freely given. And so obviously when a guy like that leaves, it impacts the locker room. However, in the business, we've come to be accustomed to people coming and going. That's sort of the way that this industry just operates, and people come and go all the time. We're still friends, and we're still all connected, and you can go 5 to 10 years without seeing somebody. You'll never talk to them, never text them, and then you'll bump into them and you pick up like it was yesterday. So that's just the way things go in the business. But Joe is, whatever he does, if he just goes out and does indies, he'll be just fine.
BG, final question?
Ken, before TNA made its debut on Destination America, we spoke with Dixie Carter, who mentioned fans would notice several changes to the product and its presentation. Is there any change to the product over the past couple of months that stands out to you, or something that you would like to see done moving forward?
I've always thought that it's something that I'd really like to see is, just in wrestling in general, certain things that sort of make me scratch my head, and have always made me scratch my head from the time I was a little kid. Why everything has to take place inside the arena. And I understand it's a kind of a financial deal. It's hard to, and it's expensive to send camera crews out on the road. But with modern technology, we all have cameras in our pockets, and they're pretty good cameras too, and video cameras, and editing equipment, and so on and so forth. And I've just always sort of wanted to. Some of the best stuff that happens in the business happens when we're traveling between cities, and when we're stopped, and when we're out at restaurants and bars and things like that. That's when the really, really interesting stuff sort of happens. So I've always wanted to maybe peel the curtain back a little bit and show that side of the business. And things like in-ring promos have always sort of irritated me a little bit. I don't understand why a person would, like, if I want to talk to Samoa Joe, why I need to grab a microphone and go stand out in the arena. Why I wouldn't just text him or call him or go into his locker room, things like that. But again, it's wrestling, and you have to sort of suspend your disbelief. There are things that we just accept about the business, and we sort of love and like it. So, yeah.
Well, a huge thanks to TNA star Ken Anderson for coming on the show tonight. Catch him every Friday night on Impact Wrestling on Destination America. Tell the fans where they can support you.
They can support me. Well, obviously they can watch us on Destination America at 9, 8 Central every Friday night. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Ken Anderson. And you can follow my Instagram account, which is at Mr. Mister Ken Anderson. So, yeah, drop me a line.
Great. Another huge thanks to TNA star Ken Anderson. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
You bet. Thank you, guys.